This is one of my favorite months, though, because typically in the past, this is when you get past your harvest mindset. Halloween is over, and now we're in a month of gratitude. And I actually love that last 2 weeks or the last week and a half of this time. And so when we think about Giving Tuesday for us in the microgrant, this is actually going to be focused specifically on how do you want to use Giving Tuesday almost as your final push. So I'm going to talk about some general Giving Tuesday things, and then we can incorporate it into that, and then get some of your thoughts on what you are thinking about Giving Tuesday or the end of the month and what that final push will look like for you. So just a little bit of history on this. So Giving Tuesday started in 2012, and it was really an idea that was from one particular group of how to facilitate global generosity and a movement. And I like that because, we talk about movements, but I would say this really is an example of a movement that their intention was to unleash the power of radical generosity. And, after the consumerism of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which are some of the biggest spending days of the year, their idea was that these 2 days were good for the economy, and now Giving Tuesday would be good for the soul. So the simple idea is a day that encourages people to do good and to be generous. So Giving Tuesday specifically was launched as a celebration of giving. And it's the one day that people rally around. I call it the 3 Gs: doing good, giving, and gratitude. So those 3 Gs, I think are worth good messaging around. So that's why I highlight it. So just asking the two of you that are here now, and if those are watching, have you participated in a Giving Tuesday as a fundraiser in the past? Have you done that with your organization? Put it into the chat if you have. Say, did it? And if this would be your first time, you can write rookie. I've been thinking about rookie because we got the Diamondbacks and our nice team with a bunch of rookies that are doing awesome, except for last night. But this is our opportunity to look at this and go, what do we do? And how do we want to facilitate Giving Tuesday? All right, I saw 2 chats. So we've got Jamie did it. Luke said this would be our first year, so rookie. And Jonathan said did it. Jeremiah did it. Good. So we've got quite a mix that's in here. And so when you think about Giving Tuesday with this year, some folks have said, should we do something on Giving Tuesday? I'd say a resounding yes, because so many individuals are thinking about giving and generosity. And it really starts at this point. So Giving Tuesday, that online, starting in 2012, brought in 10 million the very first year they did it. I don't know if you know where they're up to now, but we're talking last year. This doesn't show 2022, but last year was 3.3 billion. This year, they're projecting 3.45 billion. So when you talk about billions, that's just a bunch of zeros for a lot of us, but that's a whole bunch of people giving on a specific day. So they're thinking about giving. And that, really in the last 5 years, donations and giving on Giving Tuesday have jumped 775%. Wow. So people really are, it wasn't just an idea that somebody had, that kind of a few people, but more and more people are connected. And this statistic, I think, is notable, that nonprofits tend to acquire 12 times the number of donors on Giving Tuesday compared to the average of any other day of the year. 12 times. So that idea of acquiring a donor on a Giving Tuesday, a lot of people acquire new people. So just aware of that, new people are looking and they're interested in finding organizations. More and more people are engaging. So people give on Giving Tuesday. They're looking for ways to be generous, to give because of that sense of gratitude. Thanksgiving just ended, and ultimately to do good. This is that one day where really what we're doing is inviting people into a bigger story And because we're Christ-centered, that's to be the hands and feet of Jesus to other, to really impact the world for good, for Christ in our specific context. So Giving Tuesday is typically the kickoff to the year of the year-end fundraising campaigns. I'd say it is a great starting place. Would be an incredible energetic boost to a full year campaign, year-end campaign. Now, maybe because you're in the microgrant, maybe you're not thinking about having a full year focus on your year-end campaign. Maybe you're just trying to get through Giving Tuesday and finish it up. But ultimately, Giving Tuesday is kind of that place where you want to start your year-end campaign. And all the people out there saying, don't try to run this as separate campaigns. Don't do a Giving Tuesday and then do a year-end campaign. Put the ideas together. Focus people on this day. What's your goal? But put this all together so that your whole year-end focus is tied together with a common messaging and a common goal. December is by far the biggest month for giving. Statistically, 30% of all giving happens in a year during the month of December. So 30% of the whole year. So yeah, it is definitely a big time. October, that's in our rearview mirror right now. But I would say October is really important because you can spend that month talking about what you have done. For the future, you can go out there and share impact, share gratitude for the donors that you do have, talk about generosity and just, the ideas around what you're going to see happen at the end of the year. Share, you enlist your champions to be able to say, how do we share this great work going into November and December? And then November is all about generosity, about gratitude, being thankful. So it's a great time to reach out to your donors, reach out to your major donors with a special thank you, make phone calls for people, even connecting to lapsed donors, really important time to get people focused. So even as you think about going into Giving Tuesday, that prep time, there's a lot of good things. And then comes December, and that's where a lot of the money really does happen. So while Giving Tuesday is billions of dollars being given, a lot of people giving and being generous, putting in perspective, it's nothing in comparison to the month of December. So, this is some statistics. It comes from Next After, which is a great organization that does lots of really good statistics, research, reporting on what works and what, because we have a lot of good ideas in our industry, but they're the ones looking at the facts and saying what works. So in 2021, they analyzed 30 of their clients, but that's not just a small bucket. That represented $72 million in donations. So it's a really wide group of some small, some really large. And they found that after December 25th, 47% of all year-end giving happens that last week from Christmas through New Year. December 25th, pretty big. So even that day, 20% is sizably bigger than what Giving Tuesday is in terms of giving. So Giving Tuesday really is only 4% of all the gift giving that happens. But I don't want to minimize that because it really is that kickoff place where the world is thinking about giving and thinking about doing good. So when you look at this statistics here, we don't want you to give up your vacation and spend all your energy from the 25th to the 31st communicating about your great work. That's where scheduling communication comes in. So you can have a vacation because we all need time off, and that is important. So here's our checklist in all kinds of ways. My top 4 things we're going to look at today is these things. Giving Tuesday goal. What is your goal? How do you make a goal? What should you be thinking about? Inspiring content and messaging. So when there's a sea of people out there, people are looking at them and saying, where do I give? Well, how do you create messaging that really does good justice to who you are, what you're doing, and that it'll attract people that care about the things that you are doing. Emotionally packed impact story. So, we've been talking about storying for a couple of months, and a good impact story is critical. I'm going to talk about that. And it's just really, you need one story related to your core messaging and your goal. You don't need to have a bunch of them. You just need to focus on impact with one. Powerful visuals and branding. I think if anything ties together Giving Tuesday, it's the branding. It's being able to say, what's your message? Who are you? And is that branding consistent so that visuals stand out and capture people's attention? And then, of course, if you want people to participate, you want to have them open your email. So some kind of a click-worthy subject line, helpful to really stand out. I'll give one really important tip on that. And then dedicated giving pages. Most people can do a dedicated giving page in less than 5 minutes if you already have your branding and messaging ready. I'd say it's worth it on this day because this is where you can get a lot of new people and you want to make your branding consistent. Simple communication calendar, and then think about how to appreciate and engage people after, especially if you do bring in new people, which that may not be your goal. So as we start looking at goals, that's the key, is what is your goal? And you want to have, I think, Jonathan, you might have said this, you want to right size your goal, not too large, not too small, because you don't want to, you're not trying to shoot for this one day for your entire year end. But with the micro grant, you have a very clear goal. But you can make a goal for that day even. You've got a broader goal, but what do you want people to do that day? Really, on Giving Tuesday, focus is important. When you're focused and you have a clear goal, less is better, and people know how to respond, what you want, and they want to take action because they're thinking about doing good, generosity, and gratitude. So one goal, and I say one goal externally. Internally, you might have a few goals, and then clearly one ask that's related to that. So when I say a few goals and some internal, I'm looking at least 3 goals for the day. One being donors, one being dollars. Those are more internal goals. So you have to say, who do we want to focus on in our donors? Do you want to get the word out to people that have never heard of you before? That is a time when you can use your champions to get the word out. Do you want to attract new donors, and maybe use some ads or something else to get out? That, maybe if it's you've done this before, you're ready for that. Do you want to build champions? Talking about your people and using them and saying, I want to build some champions. So what is your goal for donors? Do you want to gain 10 new monthly donors? I had to put that on there, right? Because that's our goal. So even for this day, you can say, my goal is to gain 10 new monthly donors today. And to make that clear, that's what you're after. And then look at dollars. And this is a single day, not the whole year end. So even if for some of you, you're going to be almost to your 10,000, some of you have already reached your 10,000. So what's your goal dollars wise for this day? Having a clear goal that is connected to the next thing I talk about, impact, what you're going to do with that money is really important. You don't need to have it big. It can be very small. I would say make it doable. You want to be able to win and have it be something you go, we did this, we accomplished it. And then you can show people exactly what you've done. One of the cool things is you're already talking about a consumable with the micro grant. And so to have something that is a non-consumable, non-consumable, it's very tangible. And a tangible thing is what people get excited about, particularly on this day. So you can, shoot for 5,000 for the day, 10,000 for the day. You could focus on something you're doing in the future. You could say, your internal goal could be, I want to bring in 10% of our income on that day. I'd say that's good if you've done this before and you have a track record, you're going to get a certain number. But I'd say always increase what you did last year. For those of you who've done this before, what is your goal? How can you grow that goal and think about how to best use the donors you have to reach that the goal for the day. But more importantly is your impact goal. What are you going to do with the money? And this is where I think you can shine. A lot of organizations out there are just looking for Giving Tuesday kind of like as a cash cow. It's just like, hey, let's just throw our net out there and see who jumps in. And they don't necessarily connect their dollars goals with an impact. Like, what are you going to do with the money? Help a child survive cancer, provide holiday gifts for patients with dementia. So those are very specific, tangible things. Feed 100 families over the holidays, empower a single mom to purchase her first home. You know, whatever it is, the more specific, the more tangible, the more understandable that goal is, the more this network of people that are looking to do something good on that day and to be generous towards something that's going to make a difference, they are going to be drawn to that. Where people fall short in their messaging is they just are saying, we have a goal of this many dollars. People don't know what it's going to. That works if people are just radically excited about who you are. But for many donors, they just want to know it's going to actually do something. So be specific about what is the impact goal. And this, when you've decided what your donor goal is, your dollar goal, and your impact goal, then you're ready to start working on your messaging. So that's the internal conversation, just to go, what are we focused on? And I love this. You know, Make-A-Wish, they did a campaign on Giving Tuesday last year that every day had, like, they had a different word, like give strength, give hope, give something. And they had a story that went with it. That was their countdown, I think their last 5 days before Giving Tuesday. Well, if you're up for that and you want to do 5 stories, that's fine. I didn't read all 5. I happened to read this one. I saw other ones, but I didn't read them all. But so when you think about inspiring content and messaging, if your goal is to really help some of these kids that have a wish and you want to make some of their wishes come true, they had to have some messaging that would capture people's attention about what they were going to do with it. So think about, what are you inviting people to be a part of? This is something you're passionate about. And sometimes that information of all that you're doing can overwhelm you. So if you can take that goal you have, narrow it, and then figure out what are some of those key phrases that would capture people's attention, make people intrigued, interested. You know, this is possibly, you know, when you think about inviting people to do this, if people respond, this might possibly want to be one of their most other-centered, sacrificial, meaningful thing that they did all year long. You know, and especially if they just did a whole bunch of shopping, you know, so you come through that shopping time and then they see and hear what you're doing. That could be really the beginning of a God passion for others. So if you think about, how do I create phrases that articulate what we're about, simple messaging, simple images that you can carry across different channels. The idea of Giving Tuesday is focused communication, focused ask. So be clear, share your impact, and make it concise. So a couple of other things with that in messaging, I would say subject lines are a form of messaging. You want to stand out and not fall into the sea of people that are going to talk about Giving Tuesday. Don't use Giving Tuesday in your subject line. It's a great temptation. Tons of people do it, but you will just be like, wah, wah, wah. Pose a question. You know, have you heard, you know, what do you want? What difference do you want to make this Christmas season? Use some intrigue. Talk about gift giving or generosity or doing good. Create some urgency. And if you are really creative, you'll have no problem with that kind of a thing. One of the things I'll follow up our session today with is a one sheet, actually, front and back, so it's 2 sheets, 75 subject lines on doing good subject lines. And there are some free resources, free tools you can look at, and you can actually put your subject line in and they can give you a rating and tell you how to improve that. Those are all free tools you can use for subject lines. If people don't open your email, they won't know what you're about. So subject lines is a really important part of your messaging when it comes to Giving Tuesday. The other thing is really knowing your target audience. So if your goal is new donors, then you think about, who is my audience? Is it the friends of my current champions? Is it my lapsed donors? Is it people that are volunteers that have never given? Who are those people? And the more you can think about your audience, who you're talking to, then the more you can connect the message you have to them. And that is also one of the things that they have found Giving Tuesday, where people have had the most success, is when they have really specific targeted audiences. And for some of you that maybe have done this before, I'd even encourage you to target two audiences. You may want to target some of your fans, the people that have loved you and that have given to you in different times, and target new people so that you can really make your messaging specific. Core message, I think I've said this, is that you want it to be concise phrases that relate to your goals. Next After study they said that the increase of gifts happening when the core message and the theme is about what you're going to do with the money increased giving by 275%. So when they had a general message about Giving Tuesday and a general dollar goal, that did not produce the same kind of results. 275% increase when they were focused on outcome, on what they were going to, their impact they're going to do, and it was tangible and understandable. So you want to think simple. It might even be just a piece of what you normally do that you're going to focus on. And then think, how are you going to message your goal? So even though you know what your goal is, how do you want to message it? So like when we talked about, with the micro grant, your money can be doubled at this stage. You've already got your match. Now your money can be doubled for the whole first year if you decide to be one of our monthly donors. So how do you want to message your goal? That's different than having a goal, so that your messaging is super clear. And then when you think about that impact story, really the most critical thing in that impact story is that you give it to people ahead, and you keep either referring to or using the image of that same story to remind people of the impact that could happen. So you can tell a story, between now and Giving Tuesday that you present. You could tell it once, you could tell it twice, you could tell it 3 times from different perspectives. You could have that image, but saying, how does the work you're doing impact the people that you want to impact? And I'll show you a little bit more about that when we focus on stories in just a second. But one story that you can use and share and connect it to your theme is critical. So you think about, how do you message the story and connect it to your goal and your impact and what your impact goal. And then only one call to action. You want it to be consistent, and you can say it differently, but ultimately it's one call to action. If it's give monthly, if it is, give, in this case, it was give strength, you want to be able to have a very clear, consistent call to action, not including other things like volunteer or look at our upcoming information, make it super clear for that day. And then tactics, and I'm going to tell you what tactics are in just a minute. So those are a lot of different things, but when you craft this single compelling message, what they've said is that Giving Tuesday tends to show that a confused mind always says no. So people can't understand within 9 seconds of reading your email who you are, what you're passionate about, and what you want to give toward. Typically, a confused mind says no. So here's an example that's from the spring, and they're just saying right now, here's the problem. And they tell you exactly what it is, the problem they're trying to do. 771 million people are drinking dirty water, and you can change that. So they've got a very clear message in bold. You've got more reading you can do. you'll change the world. Join the spring. So if you know anything about Charity Water, this particular campaign for Giving Tuesday, they were emphasizing their monthly donor program. So they were trying to gain people in that. So their goal was to gain monthly donors. They have a very clear messaging that goes out to their audiences of people, some of the people they had in their audience, the people that have given one time. And then they also sent this out to a wide network of people that get their emails but have never given. So think about the audience that you've got, relate that compelling mission, your compelling message to your goal, make it tangible, problem focused so that people understand what's the problem you're trying to solve. And what is the impact that you've kind of shared? That's why a story is so valuable. Share, how do you do this? How does success happen? And use simple language. I always say, take this to your teenager, take this to your parent, and see if it makes sense before you send it. Because the people that are reading this on these days, focused up to this one day, they want clarity, number one. And then a clear ask, what do you want? What can I do to make a difference? So connect it to this season of giving and you will be successful. Here's an example from House of Refuge that they did. This was last year's. Their theme was put them to work. And they had 2 or 3 different examples of people, real pictures of individuals. And just to say, in terms of their messaging, they sent out their first email on the 16th of November. So there's plenty of time between now and then to get that kind of thing ready. It was not a long story that they used, but this theme is put them to work. And so their idea was to get people to do that. And they were going to use a tactic that, if you look down at the bottom, and I'll show you in just a second, it was related to Arizona tax credits in capturing people. But they had that very simple theme, put them to work. They talk about it simply. And then Giving Tuesday, you can do this. So 6 emails went out. Their last one after the event to say we did it. You'll get to see that in a few minutes. So here is one of those tactics. On Giving Tuesday, if you are a tax credited organization approved already, then you can remind people that not only can they give, but they can do it for free because this goes toward your tax credit. That's a great tactic to use. Not everybody is aware of that. So if you're educating on Giving Tuesday, hey, you can give and it won't cost you anything because it goes toward your tax credit in Arizona. So that was one tactic that they used for Put Them to Work, a global day of generosity with House of Refuge to change lives through vocational training, certification, career development, and more, and do it all for free. So you can see clear, simple messaging, not a lot of extra words, and then they explained a little bit about the tax credit so that people understand. Another tactic for your messaging is what we have, a matching fund. I love this. Matching funds are like magic. They motivate everyone involved. So on that day, you might capture people that have never heard of you, but all of a sudden there's a match, and some of you already met your match. I'd encourage you could go back to some of your donors and see if you want to make another smaller match just for the day. So that's a way to kind of build onto that day and go, what do we have just for today? Some of you aren't quite there. You might want to say, for today, we have a $5,000 match. If you haven't hit, your amount, you could say $250, $2,500 for that day. So doing this ahead, getting a match from your board or from a major donor that hasn't given already is extra motivation for people. Now people are getting used to matches, so that's not maybe as motivating, but statistics say matching funds matter, and particularly people are giving on one particular day, it can be a motivator. When it comes to the story, so I didn't read this story about Trinity when we had it come up before, but what I wanted you to see about this is that the messaging is super short. It's not a long story. It's not a 5-page story. This is said when Trinity walked through the door, she had nothing, no job, no marketing skills, and soon nowhere to call home. But she could bake like you couldn't believe. She belonged to a culinary school, and the cost of the tuition made it impossible. Then friends like you made the impossible possible. What's more, they did it for free. So you can see that messaging that they've got there. It's about putting people to work. It's giving people a sense of you're helping give someone a hand up, not a handout, and you can do this for free. So you've told the story of Trinity there, and you've captured your intention of like, oh, okay, baking. It may not be that this one is emotion packed. And I would do some simple things to this story to connect people to a feeling of frustration or helplessness if you can't get a job or you don't know how to use your skills, to get ahead, or to connect it to even that smell of, can you smell her, something that people bake during the holidays, pumpkin pie. You can just smell her pumpkin pie now. Something that connects people a little bit more to that, because you want people to see it, to feel it, to even smell it, to anticipate it, to connect to this story, even with a short amount of words. So just some thoughts of that. And I would always say, tell the story of one. On this day, do not focus on groups of people. Pick someone like Lucia who's waving at you, that captures someone's attention. Oh, she's waving at me. Lucia's a senior with fixed income. She's got 5 grandkids and a warm smile. She knows people like you are providing food, hygiene, clothes, and everything that will help her care for her 5 grandchildren this holiday. She overflows with gratitude and says thank you every time an item gets put into her cart. This year, she signed up to receive our special Christmas box that your gift will make possible. So see, that's just some language that can go around the story of one. Even though you might be feeding a lot more, the story of one is far more powerful than saying we're going to feed 700 families this holiday. You could put that somewhere in there, but the story, focus on one. That's where people can connect to who you are serving. They see a face, they begin to understand it, they feel something about it. That's where they connect. So one story connected to your impact goal, it's, that's where people say, I get it now. I understand what you're about. So you can help your donors understand that if this is the right thing for them to do. So help them see what it is that you do and what you get so excited about doing, why you do this. Most of you free on your own. You do it out of it because it's a passion in your heart. Powerful visuals, faces are powerful, eyes tell a story. You can see this girl, she's looking right into your soul. Colors, branding, messaging, when all that comes together and then is consistent across your communication, number one, it makes it easy for you because you have a consistent brand and you just keep using it. And then you also help people go, okay, they're talking about that. So you can send a lot of communication that is consistent and branded, and people won't feel confused. They won't feel overwhelmed. They know it's coming. And everyone's talking about Giving Tuesday. So it's like, all right, I need to get to that. I love this branding because here's a visual message that you see these women. And if you know anything about this organization, these are women all have disabilities and for the most part have been rejected from their community. And this theme they used was access over excess. See that line there? Access over excess. That was their theme for their whole holiday. And then Giving Tuesday, they really focused on one particular person in one community and a group of women that they wanted to do a brand new training for. So image, phrases, colors, all of those things fit together to make recognizable, clear messages that tell people, okay, this is something that's worth doing good with. These guys are making a difference. So think about your visual. You know, I love the wording here. When you give, community service happens. And that image they used over and over again in Mentor Kids USA for their last year Giving Tuesday Day. A happy holiday starts with you. Good messaging. And they kept that going over. Different faces. You know, that was UNICEF. So they've got big dollars. A lot of people, they pay to give them good stuff. Simple, simple message. I can't imagine how much someone got paid to come up with that. Giving Tuesday now. I mean, really, I don't know what that meant. But when you go in, it's like, does that open up and tell you what they want to do and how they want to do it? I think one of my favorites here is the sky's the limit on Giving Tuesday. Donate today so our kids can dream big. Now you can imagine if you're telling a story about that, kids dreaming big. And I want to hear that story, especially if I'm connected to this organization. I want to know what they're doing. Sky's the limit. That's a catchy phrase that helps me. And if I see that over and over again, I'm like, okay, I know what they're up to. Okay, this is cute. Got to always throw in a dog, right? None of us are protecting animals, adopt an animal. But I do think this is simple and image is powerful, but there is no language that helps you understand the impact. This pulls at the heartstrings, but it doesn't say, what do we want to do? You know, that's the one thing missing. Great image, but to have a very clear, simple message going along with that image, that's the home run. That's what you want to do. Another thing that's trending really significantly is video. Even if that's a video of somebody that is saying thank you, you hear their voice, you see their face, you may not hear all of their story. In this case, they actually have Isatu shares her life transforming story here, and it was a click and a video about her life story. And then this one quote to kind of draw you in. The things that people used to say about me, they cannot say anymore because I am so different from how I used to be. And it makes me go, oh, I want to hear what that change is, what happened in her life. Video this is the time to use it, particularly leading up to that day or early on Giving Tuesday Day. So, couple of good ideas. Now we're kind of into the nice to haves, but I think are not hard to do. Getting yourself a consistent branded giving page. So whatever your branding, your wording is, you just need a simple page, no confusion, easy giving, consistent messaging, so that they can see that, all right, I saw the email, it looks the same. Here's an example, the same kid, there was a video story on him, and I see him, it says, help grant 100 wishes this Giving Tuesday. So they're focusing on 100 wishes, but they're telling the story of one on this particular campaign that they use. Always test your donation pages before Giving Tuesday. Because it is a single day of 24 hours, you don't want to have anything that might go wrong. So make sure you've tested it right up to the day before. Make sure that the giving is easy. There's no distractions. You don't put video or stories on your donation page. The key is consistent branding with a consistent phrase message that they've heard all the way along. And for most people, you can create your dedicated giving page in less than 5 minutes once you already have your branding and your messaging done. More and more CRMs are using progress bars or thermometers. And because it's a single day and you have a set goal, I'd say if you've got one, use it, because it helps people see progress that's being made. So having a consistent goal and an impact statement, and these guys have a way too long paragraph. I didn't read any of it. That's the downside of it. You can't really see it. But if I see that visual image and I've already said I want to do this, then I can go down here and give. And they are using a good thermometer to see where they're at. Of course, they're at 0. I think I caught this maybe the day before last year it started. So that's why I think they were at 0. And then here's another trending idea, and that's a pop-up. And Next After did some research on pop-ups for Giving Tuesday. I'm not talking all the time, but specifically for this day. they identified this thing as kind of what they called an interrupter on Giving Tuesday. So if someone goes to give, they popped up their goal to highlight what they were after. Before we process your gift, we have a special opportunity for you to consider, because today is Giving Tuesday. We're looking for 40 new monthly, oh, like that, you like this, DJ? Game changer partners. That's for you, DJ. By midnight tonight, our Game Changer community is passionate about the gospel and making it accessible to kids in fun and life-changing ways month after month. Yes, you can use this, DJ, if you want it. Today we are discipling, together we are discipling a generation in God's ways. We want to invite you to join our Game Changer community today. In fact, our board has created a match for every monthly partner that we gain today, so the impact of your gift will be doubled. And then you just have, convert my gift to $15 a month, small amount on Giving Tuesday, but over time, you're going to have a sizable gift. No thanks, please process my original. They found that this kind of interrupter actually increased the number of monthly givers, did not offend people. It felt to people like, some of the people that they engaged with, they hypothesized that it felt like, now I know how you want me to give, and I forgot, or I just lost track of that, or, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I can do $15 a month, and that's going to help. So they did the research on this last year and found that it actually wasn't offensive, but it was actually helpful for people to make better choices on the kind of doing good that they could do. All right, wrapping it up, we're getting, what does tight communication calendar look like? This one, I'm not sure I'd call it tight. I think simple is good for this. And for those of you that have never done this before, I would say basically you want to have 4 to 6 communications. This one here, they had 8 before Giving Tuesday day. It's a lot, but everyone says it's not too much, because you're getting blasted with all of this information about Cyber Monday, about Black Friday. There's a lot of communication going out, and people are saying we want to do good, we want to be generous, so we don't want to get lost and forget. So thank you for the reminders. So 8 Giving Tuesday, if you've done this before, that's not too many. 2 or 3 reminders leading up to that day might be right for you. Then communicate a couple of times on Giving Tuesday itself. Could be just 2 times, once in the morning, once later in the afternoon. And that's a good day to watch it and to say, here's how far we've come toward our goal. Give an update. And then afterwards, thank yous. The reason that their emphasis is on thank yous, 2 or 3 of them after the event, is because, especially if you've got new donors, you want to connect them into your network. You either want to start them on a welcome series, thank them, call them, send an impact story of something that just happened, or if you are doing a we got it, here's what we're going to use it for immediately. So a simple, tight communication plan that will get you to that day and just after it. I think save the dates are really helpful. All you're doing is getting your message out the first day. Obviously, they're not going to go in there like a wedding announcement and put a date on their calendar, but you're just getting out ahead your messaging, your visual thing, and say, just remember, Giving Tuesday, end of the month. This is last year's date. That's not our date this year. So keep people hearing something. It takes 7 to 14 times to take action. And this is a crowded time of year for messaging because of all of the consumerism that happens. So everything out there is saying that people do not mind receiving multiple messages during this time of year. They actually see it as positive to remind them that Giving Tuesday, I want to do something. So don't feel bad about it. All the stats show that it is not a time where people feel offended. 1 or 2 will get lost in a sea. And I think this is a good example. I like this outline. They say, okay, 0 to 2 months ahead, they start promoting. Send an impact story. You know, if you've done it before, start creating an anticipation with the people that are excited about you. How do you help people How can they become a champion to invite more people to be a part of this good work? It's a great thing to use this day for. And then, giving details and what are some of your goals and the story. Remind people 1 to 7 days ahead. So that week before, that's that Thanksgiving week. You can include gratitude message, grateful for you, happy Thanksgiving. Don't forget Giving Tuesday. You can think about how do you want to remind people on social media or however. And that inspiration, what does that inspiring people look like? And, using stories, call to actions, recognizing even donors. That's another way to do that. Even those incentives. Some people, another tactic people use is using somebody that's well-known to promote it on that day. So using well-known people is another way. And then thank yous and the engagement plan following. So it's a great way to think of it. Promote, remind, inspire, thank, and engage when you think of that. And then that last thing you want to do, which is really important for this day, because if you're gaining 12 times more new donors on this one day, because people are thinking about doing good, generosity, and giving, then you want to find a way to welcome them to your team, to appreciate what they've done, tell them what they've done, what you're going to do next. You've reached your goal. Here's an example that came from House of Refuge. Thank you. Giving Tuesday was a success. It was amazing to see how we came together to put men and women to work and to affect testing lasting change in their lives. So they didn't really focus on their goal, dollars or donors on that case. That probably would have strengthened people's sense of what are we doing, but they definitely got the message of thanks out there. And then here was one from Hope Women's Center. Giving Tuesday was a huge success, and there was a lot more detail. We reached our goal. Now 1,200 women have access to food, utilities, material resources for 1 month. You made a difference for so many. Can't thank you enough. Have a great holiday season. So using your thank you messages, don't forget that backside. Set it up ahead, plan it, get it ready to go out so that you can send it out ahead and you can have your holidays. So that's our checklist. Going through all of those things. I'd say the simpler, the better. That's why I highlighted 4 of these 8. Clear goal, clear messaging with branding, and a great story. That is all you need. And then just repeat your message consistently so that people know what you want them to do on that day, and really focus on the heart of what people are doing and giving, being generous, and doing good on that day. So what are you planning? That was not the question I wanted there. What are you planning to do for Giving Tuesday? So what are some of your thoughts? I'm going to stop sharing. You can do this. I would love to hear from some of you. Questions, or what are you planning to do?
Giving Tuesday just gives you a really good message opportunity. And so, Luke, right, for example, a lot of your people, or DJ, a lot of your people, and others listening to this, they may not even know what Giving Tuesday is, right? Some of us, we're in that world. We know what Giving Tuesday is, but there are a lot of people that don't know. And so part of your communication can be, hey, did you know about this special day coming up? And here's what it provides. You could even use some of the numbers that Heather shared. People give a lot of money on this day. They come together to do good. And so part of it can just be introducing Giving Tuesday, and then weaving who you are and the opportunity that you have connected with Giving Tuesday as well. So it's a really great message opportunity. And the other thing I would say too is, if you're going to build that communication up a few weeks in advance, like Heather was talking about, you can allow people to start giving whenever they'd like, right? It's one day where you're calling everybody to give, but it's not like Arizona Gives Day where it's all supposed to happen specifically on that day. And so, people can begin to give right away toward the goal. You can continue to update people about the goal, and then use Giving Tuesday to even push it across the finish line. I'll tell you guys, this will encourage you. I think the very first time I did anything with Giving Tuesday, it was this simple. I started 3 weeks in advance and I sent 3 emails each week. One was, this is what Giving Tuesday is, helping people understand it. This is what God's been doing through Venture 19. Here's our financial goal for Giving Tuesday. And of course, they could begin to give right away. Email 2, an update there and sharing a little bit more about God was doing, impact story, right? This is what's happening. And email 3 went out the day before Giving Tuesday. So the first 2 were a couple weeks, and then the third email was the day before, just reminding everybody tomorrow's Giving Tuesday. We did have a matching grant connected with it. It was a $1,500 match. And so people began to respond to that. And not only did we reach the goal, but we had a number of people give who have never given before to Venture 19, even though they've been on our contact list. So this was the opportunity for them. I even had one major giver reach out and say, please let me know if you don't reach the goal. I want to help you get there. So you can go different levels with it, but that was my first year, really basic. And then of course you can build on that. But yeah, I mean, just some great stuff today on how to sort of inspire people and drive people to give specifically on that day.
Well, good to see you both. And enjoy the rest of your day.